To say that retro gaming is alive and well in 2019, I think is a bit of an understatement. You have so many different consoles coming out that we've seen in the past few years. You have new consoles coming out. Just so many companies are getting involved in the retro gaming sphere, whether you're talking about mainline companies like Nintendo with the NES Classic, the SNES Classic. You of course had PlayStation with the PlayStation Classic. Hell, even Neo Geo got into the mix with the Neo Geo Mini. And then the future of these systems seems to be alive and well. You of course have the Capcom Home Arcade with those stupid clear buttons. I really don't think I'll ever get over those clear buttons. And then of course you have something like the Sega Genesis Mini coming along. You even have home arcades coming into your household with companies like Arcade 1UP doing different systems.
Howdy folks, come on down to RGT 85's Arcade where we got the best arcade games. You can eat some pizza and you can eat some mass. Woohoo!
And admittedly, I really enjoy these systems. I just reviewed the Final Fight arcade cabinet. Make sure you guys check out that video if you haven't yet. A really fun system, and I really enjoy these cabinets. But as far as new companies are concerned, you're not really seeing many new companies get involved. Of course, Atari and Intellivision are doing new consoles in 2019 and beyond, but what about a brand new company, a company that you've never heard of? Well, now there's a new portable system that will connect to your television that actually uses cartridges, coming to us as a system called the Evercade. And I've heard about this system before, I've heard about people talking about it, but I was waiting to actually see some pictures and get some more tangible evidence on this system before making a video on it. Well, today we got a whole bunch of new information, including some games for the system, a price point for the system, and most importantly, a look at the system. So today's video, I want to talk about the Evercade. I want to talk about what we know about it, what I think about the system, and does a system like this have a future as a brand new portable console in the handheld gaming sphere that actually uses cartridges. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the Evercade, what it is and what I think about it.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So today we got the first images of the Evercade system, which like I said, is a brand new portable console that will take cartridges. And looking at the system, I think it looks okay. I do have a few questions about it, and one of the things I want to bring up is it kind of reminds me of those My Arcade systems. I don't know if you've ever been to Walmart and seen these very cheap knockoff systems that sometimes have games from Data East on there called My Arcade, but it definitely looks a lot like one of those systems. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. It definitely looks like it has some potential. You can see that we have a D-pad, which I don't know. I mean, obviously D-pad looks versus D-pad functionality can vary pretty widely, but I do have some concerns about the D-pad. You have 4 face buttons, much like a Super Nintendo, and then you have 2 trigger buttons as well. You also have a menu button easily available. You have a start button and a select button. It looks sort of like a Famicom colored system. You can see that they went with the gray and red color scheme. You have the A and B buttons in red and the X and Y buttons in gray. And you can see that there are 2 speaker ports on the system. Now, as far as the screen size of the system, the company Evercade is saying that it is the exact same screen size as a PlayStation Portable. So it's a 4.3 inch screen. So that's a pretty good size, I feel. And once again, just looking at the build quality of this, I do have some questions about it, but I can see it being somewhat functional. Now, as far as what this system is actually going to be doing, it will be playing cartridges on the system. So you'll have to pick up different cartridges in order to play different games. Now, I don't think there's actually going to be any new games on this system. According to the developers of this Evercade, they are actually reaching out to old school companies to get 8-bit and 16-bit games on this system. It's supposed to be a flashback to the yesteryear of video gaming, obviously the peak of retro gaming. And right then and there, I have some questions because a lot of the best 8-bit and 16-bit games were admittedly done in-house by a lot of these companies like Nintendo and companies like Sega. And obviously you're not going to have any Nintendo first party games on this system. You're not going to have, more than likely, you're not going to have any Sega first party games on this system. I guess there is a small chance of maybe something like Sonic the Hedgehog appearing on it, but more than likely you're not going to have these games. So it does sort of limit the reach of this system and what you're actually able to be doing with this system. Now, they did announce what the first cartridge available for this system will be. They're planning on launching with a bunch of different cartridges, and the first cartridge is an Atari compilation. Of course, because Atari just whores themselves out nowadays to pretty much anything that will put their games on their system. Like, what is Atari not on in 2019? And then, of course, you have the Atari VCS. I don't know. Atari just seems like one of the biggest whores in video gaming, just putting their licensing out there to anyone who wants them. Now, looking at the game library for the first cartridge announced for this system, the Atari 2600 and 7800 was a bit before my time. I do own an Atari 7800, and I have some 2600 and 7800 games. I can get some fun out of them, but looking over this games list, there actually is a few 7800 games that are definitely worth talking about, and some classic 2600 games as well. You have classics like Centipede, Adventure, Crystal Castles for the 2600. You have Food Fight for the 7800, which Food Fight is a really cool game. You have Ninja Golf for the 7800 as well, which is actually a game that I don't own for my 7800, but I actually would really like to, because I always thought that game was just absolutely fascinating. Ninjas in golf, like, how much drugs did you have to do in order to come up with that idea? You also have games like Steeplechase, you have Motor Psycho for the 7800, you have Sword Quest, Aqua Adventure, Tempest, Video Pinball, Yar's Return, and more. So admittedly, you know, not a bad little collection of games, but it's a collection of games that you can get readily available on many different systems. Of course, the Atari Classics is available on all of modern consoles right now, including the Nintendo Switch. So is this really a big enough announcement in order to get people in the door? And then you have to factor in the fact that what other compilations are going to be available. The system will be launching at two different price points. There'll be a $79.99 price point and a $100 price point. Now, the $79.99 bundle comes with one cartridge. I'm going to assume it is the Atari collection, and then a premium version will be available for $99.99 that will come with 3 cartridges. Now, whether or not all 3 of these cartridges are going to be Atari related, or if there's going to be other companies involved on these cartridges, remains to be seen. I guess more than likely you will probably see a lot of companies that have worked with other companies on this system. Companies like Data East. Of course, Data East has done a lot of revisions of their games. There's been things like the Retrobit cartridge compilations that have come out recently that have multiple games from the Data East games on there. So I can foresee a company like Data East getting involved in this, but I just feel like the scope of this project may be a bit too big as the intended thing is concerned. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like there's that many companies out there that will be available to be put onto this system. One thing I do like about the Evercade is that they were smart enough to do 2 different screen ratios with this system. You can either play it in stretch 16:9 or in the classic 4:3 mode. And I think most people will want to play in 4:3 mode because a lot of these older games just look very strange stretched out. Now, you will be able to hook this up to your television as well via an HDMI port that is available on the system. So I don't know if there's going to be extra controllers for this system. It kind of seems weird because some of these games are obviously going to be multiplayer games, but if it's a handheld system, are you going to have any way to play these games via multiplayer? Finally, there's an FAQ for the system where they highlight a few different things that I want to go over very briefly. Will you have major publishers on board? Yes, we already have several publishers on board. We will be announcing 3 this month, including 1 classic platform holder. I'm going to assume that that is Atari. What sort of software/emulation are you using? Where possible, we are working directly with the original software/emulator developers to support them for their hard work, and also to ensure that their emulation is accurately reflected on our hardware to deliver the best possible experience for you. What will the game selection be like? Our focus has always been on quality and not quantity. While other retro platformers may be boasting thousands of games, we have focused on signing major licenses, games which you will be excited to play and own, all killer, no filler. No internet connection is needed for this, and they are planning for a 2019 launch. There will also be save states available on this, and it will have a USB rechargeable battery with about 4 to 5 hours of play. And like I said, they are looking at the 8-bit and 16-bit era of games. So all in all, you know, it doesn't sound bad. I don't think the Evercade is necessarily doomed for failure. I just feel like it sort of has a limited reach. A lot of these systems have come out from companies like AT Games. Of course, you have the Sega Genesis stuff that they do, and they even do Atari handheld systems. Now, while the Sega Genesis systems from AT Games are absolutely horrible, the ones for the Atari games aren't really all that bad. And if you're coming out of the gate talking about Atari stuff, a lot of consumers are just going to be like, well, I could just buy this thing. There's a lot of different Chinese manufacturers out there who are making these sort of consoles that come loaded with a ton of different games on them that are very easily available to pick up as well. I guess the cartridge aspect is pretty unique. I mean, you're not seeing a lot of companies come out with a new cartridge-based system, but the fact that it appears that there's not going to be any brand new games for this system, at least as of right now, I don't know. I think it's going to be a very tough sale. Will I pick one up personally? I mean, of course I will. I enjoy reviewing stuff like this. I'll probably try to reach out to them and see if I can get an early review unit and maybe we could check it out on the channel. But if not, I will definitely pick up one of these just to check it out. I'll probably get the premium one, and I'm definitely curious to see what other game companies are going to be involved with this. I think Data East is probably a lock, but outside of that, are you going to be able to get major publishers and developers from the 8-bit and the 16-bit era on board with this? It's already pretty limited in what you can do, so I'm going to be very interested to see how this all pans out. But that is the Evercade system. It's a system that some of you guys have been asking me to talk about, and I've just sort of been waiting till we got more information about the system before I actually talked about the system. So let me know in the comments section down below what you think of the Evercade. Do you foresee this having a place on the market? Where is this going to be sold? Is it just going to be at Walmart and stuff like that? And do you think this system should even come out, or do you think it's going to be an absolute failure? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel. Like I said, I just did a Final Fight Arcade 1-Up review cabinet a couple days ago on the channel. Evidently, they weren't supposed to be selling those, but I ended up getting one anyway, so make sure you guys check that out. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.